For some, it was just an ordinary Tuesday morning. Some were heading to work, others to school, and some to reunite with loved ones. 149 people started that day with hope, but none of them knew this journey would be their last. At 10:31, a chilling silence began in the sky. Within minutes, a massive passenger plane was losing altitude uncontrollably, and just 10 minutes later, it had shattered into pieces. But what lay behind this silent scream? On the morning of March 24, 2015, a Germanwings Airbus A320, flight number 9525, was preparing to take off from Barcelona El Prat Airport in Spain. On board were 144 passengers and 6 crew members, 150 people in total. Among them were 16 high school students accompanied by 2 teachers. The young travelers were excited, dreaming of spending the best days of their lives in a new country, a new city. The planned departure time was 9:35, but due to instructions from French air traffic control, the flight was delayed by about half an hour. Finally, the Airbus A320's engines roared to life, and at 10:01, it left the runway. Its destination, Düsseldorf Airport in Germany. Its scheduled arrival, 11:40. At first, everything seemed normal. The plane climbed to 38,000 feet. Weather reports were favorable, and technically, there were no issues. Communication with the tower was smooth, and passengers were sitting comfortably. But this peace would last only 30 minutes, because at exactly 10:31, something unimaginable happened in the sky. The aircraft suddenly began to descend. No engine failure, no storm, no fuel problem. The cause of the fall was something entirely different. Air traffic control was baffled. Radar showed the plane dropping rapidly. The tower made repeated calls, but there was no response from the cockpit. Passengers began to realize something was wrong. It was clear that a crisis was unfolding, but no one could have imagined they were caught in a carefully constructed death scenario. The minutes passed quickly. At 10:41, the plane crashed into the rocky slopes of the French Alps, about 100 kilometers northwest of Nice. The impact was so violent that not a single recognizable piece of the aircraft remained. Rescue teams rushed to the scene, but what they found was indescribable. Tragically, none of the 149 people on board had survived. So what had happened? How could a seemingly normal flight turn into a deadly dive? The captain, Patrick Sondenheimer, was an experienced pilot. His co-pilot, however, was 27-year-old Andreas Lubitz, the man at the center of the tragedy. Investigations later revealed that it was Lubitz who had deliberately brought the plane down. Born in 1987, Andreas Lubitz had been passionate about aviation from a young age. He took his first flying lessons at a club in Montabaur. After high school, he interned with Lufthansa and later enrolled in Lufthansa's flight school in Bremen. But during training, he suffered a deep psychological crisis. He was forced to quit due to severe depression and spent about 7 months in hospital care. In the summer of 2009, after treatment, he resumed training. In 2010, he moved to the United States, where he earned his pilot's license. By 2014, he had joined Germanwings. But behind this success story was a dark secret. Lubitz had been battling depression and suicidal tendencies for years. Doctors had declared him unfit to work multiple times. However, due to Germany's strict patient-doctor confidentiality laws, this information never reached the airline. The company remained unaware of Lubitz's medical history. Meanwhile, Lubitz concealed the truth, fearing he would lose his career. The moment that sealed the fate of the flight came when the captain left the cockpit to use the restroom. Lubitz immediately locked the cockpit door from the inside. After the 911 attacks, Airbus cockpits had been reinforced. No one could open the door from the outside unless the pilot's inside granted access. The captain desperately tried, knocking, entering emergency codes, even attempting to break down the door with an axe, but it was all in vain. During this time, Lubitz used the autopilot system to steadily reduce altitude. The tower's calls went unanswered. Cockpit voice recordings revealed the last sounds, the terrified screams of passengers. Then came the deadly impact. The investigation that followed uncovered shocking evidence. At Lubitz's home, antidepressants, medical documents, and doctors' reports were found. Most striking was a torn-up medical note in the trash that read, "Andreas Lubitz is unfit to work." On his computer, searches showed interest in suicide methods and airline security systems. This was not a sudden breakdown. It was a meticulously planned act. Another discovery made the case even more alarming. The United States had previously rejected Lubitz's application for a pilot's license. The reason was clear: his history of depression and suicidal tendencies. Denied in the US, Lubitz still managed to fly in Germany because of systemic loopholes. In the aftermath, Germanwings and Lufthansa faced outrage. On March 25th, all Germanwings flights were cancelled. A new rule was implemented. There must always be at least 2 people in the cockpit. Insurance companies set up a €280 million compensation fund for victims' families, and Lufthansa paid millions more in settlements. But no sum of money could ever replace the lives lost that day. Ultimately, this tragedy was not just the result of one man's decision, but the failure of a system of laws and of oversight. Germany's strict confidentiality laws, insufficient psychological screening by airlines, and ignored warning signs all combined to seal the fate of 149 people. And now the haunting question remains: is personal privacy more important or public safety? Could this tragedy have been prevented if pilots' mental health were monitored more closely? And most chilling of all, could such a loophole happen again in the future?